Today on the Euro Truck Podcast, iAndrewC uses the Steam controller for the first time. The Oculus Rift has a release date and price. Just Cause 3 will be getting multiplayer. And we talk about what's happened at CES so far. Hello and welcome to the Euro Truck Podcast with iAndrewC.
And Jefferson B.
Reading.
Reading?
That's
a new name.
Yeah.
Reading what?
Rainbow.
We are joined today by LeVar Burton, known of Gordy fame, and known for wearing the best sunglasses to ever appear this side of the galaxy. Thank you for joining us, Mr.
It's
Lee.
not sunglasses. It's a multi-spectrum thingy.
Yeah, Mr. No, we are not crossing over two black characters in the same podcast. That is a terrible idea. We are not pulling Burton Guster into this podcast. Anyway,
That's a psych reference for anyone who didn't get it, by the way.
Yeah, probably should let that.
Ghee Buttersnaps?
Ghee Buttersnaps?
Can we get us some Ghee Buttersnaps in here?
What's another?
MC, clap your hands. That's one of my favorite ones.
Only because it actually involves clapping your hands.
Yes, it does, of course.
So, a little bit of preliminary news off the top of today's podcast. For those of you who are watching the video version of our podcast, you will notice that iAndrewC is not using his typical Xbox 360 controller, but is instead using my Steam controller. And you can see why this has actually been a terrible idea for our podcast recording today. But he's going to try it.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying it. It's definitely everything that Jeff said about the fact that it's not a 360 controller when you're used to playing on a 360 controller is 100% a fact.
Exactly.
If you're used to a 360 controller and you expect that it's going to be a 360 controller, it's nothing like a 360 controller. My initial complaints are that it's a bit too bulky for someone who has smaller hands. So when I'm holding it, it just kind of feels large, which makes my hands hurt. And the fact that the one touch thing here, which moves in this game the camera around, is touch sensitive. I don't have anywhere to put my thumb unless I just kind of stick it here. So those are my main complaints. I mean, other than the flappy paddle things, I constantly accidentally click.
Yeah. Now, on top of your numerous complaints, more of which will be coming throughout the entire recording of this podcast, iAndrewC, would you like to include some of the benefits as to why you think the Steam controller might actually be useful to players?
If you're playing a racing game, the fact that it does have those flappy paddle things, that's kind of useful. If you're used to playing with various PlayStation controllers, some of the trigger actions are a little closer to that in their mechanics compared to the 360. And obviously you can play this use this controller in any game that you want.
Yeah, I feel like that's the major concern that's here, is that it's almost too customizable. Like it's not so out of the box, but it's very Valve, I think, in a lot of ways.
There are so many things that Jeff pointed out that could be changed that I wouldn't know what to even adjust when it comes to playing with things. So but Jeff did point out that there are a whole bunch of custom configurations that people can upload, and then you can download them from other people, and so you don't have to necessarily come up with them on your own. You can just kind of jack ones from other people that they've already figured out. So I mean, it's definitely usable, but if you're super used to using something like a 360 controller, it's gonna be odd.
This is why my ultimate goal for this controller, if I can get it to successfully play a match of League of Legends, it will have won my coveted Editor's Choice Award. If I can successfully get it to play a match of League of Legends, I think we'll actually have something viable on our hands, because that's the gap. Is we're trying to that's the gap that Valve is trying to close, are these games that have zero controller possibilities. We have partial controller support. The Euro Truck Simulator 2 is one of the few games, it's actually a very small category of games, that have native out-of-the-box controller support.
Right.
Wouldn't you try it first with Dota 2, since it's a Steam thing?
I might actually. I did a really quick Google search, and I actually found a whole video of how to play Dota 2. My thing is, I don't know how to play Dota 2. I've never actually played it before. So I'd have to then learn a game and learn the controller scheme, which might actually play in my favor because I wouldn't have the preconceived notion of trying to play League like I normally would play League.
Right.
So there's that. It's an option. It's on my radar. But to play a MOBA that's not Smite, because Smite actually has native controller support. To play a MOBA, though, is my next big goal with this controller product. And I mean, was it worth it? Yeah, I like it. It's one of those things where I looked at it having a Steam Link and a Steam controller as peanut butter and jelly. Both are really great on their own. Both go really well on biscuits and toast. But when you put them together, there's something very special that happens that neither could actually do to their fullest potential by themselves.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting product. I mean, it is kind of cool to be able to use one and not have had to purchase it.
That's the big thing.
Kind of it's kind of a demo that unfortunately someone had to pay for.
It was Christmas.
That's fair. So to get into some kind of news-based things, this is kind of a that's interesting type topic, and it's not necessarily something you may have thought of doing. If you've got one of the new 3DSs, turns out that those things have just about enough power that you can run Windows 95 on them.
Now to bear in mind, is this the new 3DS?
Mm-hmm. The new 3DS.
The one with the C-stick, the one with the face tracking.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. VR 3D thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's Nintendo. I love you dearly, but your naming scheme is this is the problem. This is the problem that everybody's been facing.
The 3DS 2.
Yeah, let's just call it that. 3DS 2.0, which is not the new Project NX, I think it's called. The new yet to be released Nintendo console that we'll be talking about later in 2016.
Right. That's not that. Yeah, it's just the regular.
Now, did you see the video that this guy actually made of him running Windows 95?
I didn't get a chance to. No.
It's funny because when I looked at it, I was quite the opposite of mildly interested, even because all I saw from it was a boot screen. So I have actually yet to see this thing in action. I love the idea. I think it would be so cool if somebody could somehow figure out a way to crack open the new 3DS or other older Nintendo titles and turn them into portable computers. Or if somebody from the Raspberry Pi community out there wants to throw their Zero inside of something that resembles a Nintendo DS,
right? I
think we've got a lot of potential for that mobile hackerspace.
Yeah, it'd definitely be interesting. I mean, the whole reason that they were able to even get it to work is that 3DS happens to have a 268 megahertz processor with 256 megs of RAM, which is what Windows 95 needed to run back in.
Astonishing to me that that's how little the system specs are in a Nintendo DS.
It is a little bit. That's a little bit surprising.
Like, I kind of wonder, is that an emulated processor? Because
it could be.
Windows 95 never ran on an x86. Like, it only ran on x86 processors.
Correct.
And if
I'm sure they had
the 3DS is going the way of everything else, it's got an ARM chip in it.
Yeah, I guarantee they had to emulate it somehow. So
I think that's where you're.
I didn't look a whole lot into the background of how they got it all.
It's my understanding that even the guy who got it to run isn't talking much.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So it'll be one of those things we'll have to. Maybe we could get more info on later, but I mean, right now it's a really cool tech demo, and we're right on the bleeding edge of CES this week, and so there's just all kinds of stuff.
Interesting to see if we have anything
next week's podcast coming out.
Anything interesting that comes up.
Right.
I have been keeping an eye out to see if anything popped up.
Nothing yet, but I mean, we still got a couple more days.
We're
left
still
of the
in products.
Yeah,
we're still in consumer products.
What was it? Camera Day the other day, and
I mean, CES
Car Day today.
Consumer electronics show. So
Las
Vegas.
Not
impossible or impractical for someone to release gaming-related things or gaming technology.
It was my understanding MSI is actually making a huge stand. Is making a huge standout this year. Sidebar topic. They've been working on. It's an all-in-one, so something akin to a Mac, an iMac, basically.
Right.
With a full GTX Titan X in it.
That's excessive.
No, it's perfect.
No, it's excessive.
It's a gaming rig in an all-in-one.
Yeah, but it's a Titan. Titans are excessive.
No. In what way is a Titan excessive?
The only advantage you get out of a Titan is a poop ton of RAM.
Exactly.
But that's it.
Yeah, that RAM is increasing teraflops. Come on, give me like an industry reason why a Titan X is not a good thing.
So if you're just doing gaming, pretty much every game title can't max out a 4 gig card right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy a 4 gig GTX 970 for $330.
Future proofing, and if anything, it can support up to a Titan X. I should probably be. Let's be clear here. We can support up to a Titan X.
So here's the thing, though. Future proofing is only so good. like you're still talking a Titan is $1,000.
Right.
That's not future proofing. That's just buying a computer worth of GPU.
Right.
So
okay. Say you dropped into it in 960, but it's a full blown 960. It's not an M.
Right.
That's the kicker here, is that we're talking about a full blown, and it's last year's CES, MSI released an all-in-one with a PCI Express slot. So it's a BYOGC kind of deal. Bring your own graphics card.
Yeah, I mean, from that standpoint, it's definitely a good thing to
and
see
it's an
this
all-in-one.
happening.
I think, especially for somebody like myself, I live in a smallish apartment. College students, my parents, who don't want to have to deal with this big bulky tower. Like, the fact that the all-in-one market is finally getting the long-deserved look that it didn't have.
Right.
I mean, it's not just being reserved to, like, cheap little, Intel Atom-based PCs. It's finally something that might be viable for the next cycle of players.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, anyone who really cares about gaming,
And you have flipped 180 degrees. Very well done, sir. Very nice.
Thank you. I will say that I think the biggest problem you're going to have with all-in-ones like that is the same problem you always have with all-in-ones. It's probably going to be unnecessarily difficult to upgrade. Obviously, you've got very little upgrade path, even if there is a way to change the graphics card in it. I mean, that you can only do so much with a product like that.
Very true, very true.
And you're obviously, the biggest thing is you're limited to whatever display came with it.
Right.
So, or having a useless display and plugging a third-party monitor into it.
My biggest concern right now is thermal throttling.
And thermal. Yep,
like,
that's a
heat
huge
dissipation
thing.
in an all-in-one is going
Garbage.
it's going to be an issue until somebody
It's gonna
decides
be
to throw in
garbage.
water cooling. And even with water
unless
cooling,
unless you're just doing if it's all straight up water cooling, I'd see no issues.
right, except for the fact it would have to be a custom one-of-a-kind rig that you wouldn't be able to upgrade worth beans.
Exactly. So,
Except
I mean,
for
there's all
maybe a RAM
kinds
slot.
of kinds of problems.
I hope the industry can figure it out. That's all I'm saying.
It'll certainly be interesting.
Right.
Moving on, though, just some little quick things here. Just Cause 3 multiplayer mod is coming at some point. Same people who made the multiplayer mod for Just Cause 2 will be working on that. So that's coming down the pipe.
Now, do you know off the bat, is the support for the Just Cause 3 multiplayer mod going to be better than the JC2? Oh, you're on your side.
Totally on my side.
Blame it on the Steam controller.
It's arguably not the Steam controller's fault.
Blame it on the Steam controller.
Well, but the steering is kind of weird. Is a little. The sensitivity is off because it's not. It's set for my 360 controller, and I don't want to mess that up.
Well, yeah, or we could just reset the sensitivity on the actual Steam controller.
Yeah, I can't be bothered.
Or I could turn on the gyro and really mess it up.
No.
Exactly.
No, I saw you try to use that. That was awful.
It was a terrible idea. Maybe
Very
later.
bad idea.
But yeah. So I'm curious on that one with the JC3.
I mean, I guess it probably will depend on what the quality of Just Cause 3 in general is, to whether it's a better environment for them to be working on. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Obviously, we don't have anything playable yet. It just was basically announced kind of today or yesterday that it would be a thing. So, but I'm glad it's getting it. I'm glad it is getting the same treatment Just Cause 2 did, and it should probably be earlier than it happened last time, I think.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So, moving on from there, we have kind of big gaming news a little bit. Activision Blizzard purchased Major League Gaming.
Right. So now the major third-party circuit that everybody's been participating in for their Major League Gaming is now owned by a corporation.
Yeah, exactly. Which is actually kind of interesting. And what I was seeing about it, Activision Blizzard actually had already created their own media division that would have competed against them. And this purchase actually kind of...
right into the pole.
I wasn't looking at the screen.
Bummer.
Definitely wasn't. That was my own, 100% my fault that time.
Yep. Pilot
error, yeah. So they were already planning on getting into that space, and this actually just kind of jump-started that ability to get into market with their media network division, because they could purchase an already running product rather than having to start from the ground up with their own.
Right, and I think also a lot more people are more willing to trust MLG
right.
than Activision Blizzard.
Right. I mean, people obviously Blizzard's got their own big name, and Activision too has their own big name. But
I almost compare them to like Apple fanboys though.
Yeah,
they're very loyal, but those who are outside the circle are outside the circle.
Yeah, that's fair.
MLG has been a very inclusive organization from the start. Even going so far as to include the handheld market, a subsect of the gaming genre that I know doesn't get as much attention as it really should, except if you play Nintendo products.
Right.
This is coming from the Vita owner, so full disclosure, it is what it is.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of things Activision does with that. And last thing here is the Oculus Rift dev kit backers. So people who backed the original version of the Oculus Rift, they're going to be getting a free Kickstarter edition which is the final version of the product.
Oh my goodness! How long ago was it that this product actually debuted on Kickstarter?
It's a long time ago.
It's one of those things where we are finally on the advent of VR,
and it's the final version is finally coming out. The deadline to be able to register to get that free Kickstarter edition if you backed it is February 1st. So people who backed it aren't automatically going to get that edition. They do need to request it basically from Oculus, and you'll get an email about it directly from Kickstarter for that process. But for everyone else who didn't back the original version, it will be coming out as a usable product and purchasable product soon, March to be specific, and it's going to come for the very, in my opinion, expensive cost of $599.
Which, I mean, you got to remember the idea of this being a low-cost product, which is a quote that we have from the co-founder. There's a source to an Engadget article. You've probably seen it by now. But, this is the guy who was paid by Facebook millions of dollars. So for him, money is but no object at this point. So the idea of this being a $599 product is not that big of a deal. But here's my question I want to propose out to both Uber and iAndrewC here. If you had the money, or if money was not the factor, would you consciously purchase an Oculus Rift?
No.
Because I am not interested in the whole having crap up in my face thing, and then having a screen that I wear to see things.
Gotcha.
Just not interested in that.
Okay. Doc, what are your thoughts?
I'm not into virtual reality, no.
Not at all?
I've seen Sword Art Online.
This is true. Sword Art Online, or literally any... It's my understanding it's a whole genre of anime. Very good anime, in my opinion, but that's just me.
I mean, I know that obviously you are super duper Mick. I would buy this today
if I had the money in my accounts and was if money were no object. I really should clarify. If money were no object, if I had millions of dollars and I could spend it however I saw fit, and I would. Mostly because I think it's really cool. I've been seeing there was an article in Game Informer, which is the publication put out by GameStop to all of their Power Up Plus members. But I had read an article on VR games specifically that are coming out, and there's some really unique experiences. And so I like the idea of being on that cutting edge. I just don't have the wallet to support it. But it's there. It's real. I think that's the biggest thing for me right now, is knowing that this unicorn is finally surfacing itself.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what really kind of takes hold from it, especially with all of the virtual reality headsets we have that are coming out. Oculus finally getting to its final state and not being a developer product anymore.
Right. I think that's the harsh thing right now, is we're seeing a lot of VR toys.
Right.
And I'm interested to see when are we going to exit the toy stage.
Exactly.
Because that was our issue with NFC. That's been our issue with things like microcomputers. That's been our issue with all-in-one PCs. Mm-hmm. And so that's been our issue with Android-powered gaming consoles, is they never really left the toy area. The Ouya, the little system on a chip sticks that we had seen, they never really sunk their teeth into it. And so I'm hoping that VR doesn't kind of get stuck in that same area and can actually be taken off as a legitimate peripheral. And hopefully we'll be able to find some harmony to where 2D gamers and 3D gamers will be able to occupy the same spaces together, and it won't be this walled off club that we're right now seeing with the toy era.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. But that is all we have for today, and I'm about to plow right into a K-rail.
Oh, damage 100%. Way to go. Didn't damage your cargo, though.
Of course not. I have no cargo. So,
you have invisible cargo.
I have invisible cargo. So, do hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ochog Podcast. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, and if you don't, you can hit the down like button. The down like?
Down
the down like.
Yeah, hey, that works.
Yeah, you can down like us.
Down like us.
All you want.
Go for it.
But also hit that subscribe button, which is on the other side of the page, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.